Welcome folks. Today we're going to learn how to use the grid. The grid is an essential tool when you know what you're doing. Sometimes when you don't know what you're doing, it can also help. See, I'm showing you currently 3 phones. On the left, you have YouTube, then Amazon, and Google Maps. If you take a look at Google Map, you will notice that there's a 10 pixels gap between each button, and there's this 14 pixel gap before any item starts, unless it's continuing, like coffee right here. Look, here's the 14 gap, as you can see. Now, for the first button, these buttons, they don't start at the very beginning. They add 10 pixels to the 14 gap, then the button starts, and then you have 10 pixels between each one of those buttons. So how do you create it? How do you create a grid so that you can use that on your own? I'm going to show you that right here. So here's your, let's say your phone, and you're getting ready to design. First of all, you want to make sure you select the frame you want to work on. You could select the frame through the layers panel or directly by clicking on the frame item. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use the latter. So here it is, select it, and it shows up here. Now you want to come all the way down here where it says layer guide, alright, and you want to click on this little plus. The plus will bring on the grid. See, there's a grid already, but this is the default grid. It comes with a 10 pixels in size, meaning each one of these boxes has a 10 pixels inside. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 10 pixels wide, 10 pixels tall. Now, as I increase this 10 pixels, see, it gets bigger or smaller. The lower you could go is 1 pixel. If you go to 0, it disappears. Alright, so let's go back to those 13 or whatever pixels. Now I am going to specify a column grid instead of a regular grid. So columns grids behave this way. The columns, it comes with a 5 columns grid by default, but you can change this to anything you want. Let's say 12 pixels. 12 columns, but I want 6 instead. Or you could also type in whatever you want. For instance, 10. Got it? All right, let's go back to 6. Now you see the color is defined right here where you see color. This is currently a red color with a 10 pixels of 10% opacity. You can increase the opacity by dragging the opacity number, putting your mouse on the percentage sign, and then dragging it to the right to make it even more opaque, or go back to the left and make it less opaque. Alright. You can also change the color by just clicking on the color itself and updating to whatever color you want. We're going to leave it as is. We're not going to do anything. So let's just close that. Now you're going to specify the type. Okay, he doesn't want me to. Okay, what's going on here? Let's go back. Was it a bug? Probably. No, see, it created a second grid. I don't need a second grid, so I'm going to go back and remove that second grid by clicking on the minus right here and remain with my original grid. Now, how do I access this grid so that I can modify it? All I have to do is just click on this little sign right here on the left of the grid, and it says layout guide settings. Click on it, and it brings up the setting panel. Now, on the setting panel, here's what I'm going to do. It's currently set to stretch, but if you want it to be centered, then it's going to be like that with a width of 13. You can always change the width of your grid, of your columns, all right? Or you can go to left or go to right if you wanted to. But I am going to stretch it. So when you do stretch, it can no longer change the width, because the whole grid, the 6 column grids, are going to stretch along the container and occupy the entire space. Only the margin and the gutter can be modified. Based on the gutter, the width, right? The width of your column will be specified automatically. So if you have a bigger gutter, obviously you're gonna have a smaller width for your column. If you have a smaller gutter, and on and on. Now the gutter, I want you to know it sets the space between each one of those grids. At the end of the far left grid, it's not the gutter, that's the margin. I currently have a margin of 0, as you can see right here. That means the left column is going to touch the border, the left border. Same for the right column. Now if you want a specific width between the left and the right border in your grid, you specify that by changing your margin right here. See, so if I want my app to start right here, for instance, I want to set a margin of 40. Here I want 20 margin, 20 gutter and 14 margin. There we go. Here it is. Now I can start designing whatever I want. Let's say I wanted to have an image right here, 3 images, and I wanted to have a border radius of, I don't know, 8. There we go. Make sure it doesn't, it's well aligned, because this is also how when the column gets helpful, because it snaps to it snaps to it. It's easy, all right? And I'm gonna copy this. Let's name it really quick. So let's call it image. All right. So I'm gonna duplicate that image right here with the Option key and a Shift selected on my keyboard. It helps align it and make a copy of it. Here it is. And then I'm going to put a text right below it, and the text will say, hey, this is item so and so. All right, here's the item. Let's put it right here, and we are going to change this to 16 and make sure it's not that big. Let's call it we're using inner. Okay, that's fine. Let's use regular inner. Actually, I'm gonna make it semi-bold inner. It's right here, and I think and left align it. I think it's a little too big, don't you think? That's okay. Let's bring another one here and another one here, just like that, and we're gonna bring it down. And this right here is gonna be the description. Description goes below with all the good stuff. Okay, now we're gonna set our description to fit right here and change the text to be 14, and we want it to be lighter, and now actually not this light, regular, and we want the height to be reduced, so it's going to be like that. And we also want a price down here, so the price is going to be, let's say, $1,200. all right, here it is. And this, we want the user to be able to see it very, very well. So all right, so here we are. Now let's bring those right here. You see how we align it to the right? All right, we align it to the right, but we wanted to start slightly 3 dots after. All right, 3 pixels. Here it is. All right, here is my image. Now I want a roadblock right here where it says dun dun dun. We're gonna call it checkout. Check this out. Check me out of the week. Check me out of a week. Something like that. You know what I mean? Alright, so we'll make this a title and make it bigger, slightly larger than everything. Make it bold, bring it down a little bit, and see, it's easier for you to design it this way. Alright, you get the point? Yeah, I get the point, right? Now, as you design, if you were to click on your, let's click now on my my frame, and I am going to momentarily remove the layout guide by clicking on the eye right here, because this is going to hide the visibility it's going to hide it. If you click on the minus, it's going to remove it, and you might not be able to find it again. You're going to have to recreate it because you didn't save it. So in this here, we just want to hide it. This way it will still be there, but we can reactivate it if we wanted to. There it is. And you see how well it is designed. It would have been harder for me to create this on a grid, on a font that doesn't have a grid. See, I would have gone blank, like I don't know exactly where I am, and on and on. Got it, guys? There we go. We're going to stop the tutorial right here, and I think this is very helpful. I hope you learned something from here. If you like what you saw and you want to know more or find out more, please come back and see us. Don't forget, you gotta be able to subscribe and hit the bell. Otherwise, you won't get the new lessons. All right, I'll see you around.